What's up, guys? WhoNeedsMeta here with Cadigan doing our first retro report in a hot minute, like a hot minute.
Yeah, it's like a toasty minute.
Yeah, normally we take notes and do everything, but we kind of just wanted to go through these semi briefly because there were three events. We had, well, I guess four. We're
There
looking
were
to do.
four.
Yeah, there were two Tengu events. We had a hat event, and then we had this Wizards of Windup. So this is September 12th. So that would be YCS Providence. So we're just going to kind of get into a few of these lists. We actually played the Rabbit and the Hero Beat list, and we can obviously give some insight of that. We always going to start with the first place list. So we'll get kind of into this here. This was won by Letiob. I'm not a player I'm actually familiar with.
Yeah, good luck. This was a 26-player event. This was played the last, I think, weekend of December. So just like a little over 2 weeks ago now.
Yeah, so it's a fairly conventional list minus the messengers in the main. We did see a lot of people main decking Upstart in windups, just like I'm gonna open the shock lock like as much as I possibly can and just try and go for it. Honestly, I believe this is a response to the last time they held an event. Chaos Dragons did really well. And if you noticed, they didn't do anything this time.
Yeah, nothing in the top 8 from them.
Yeah, so no Chaos Dragons, no big monster decks. So this, I guess Dark Worlds, it's good against Grapha, but Grapha can just pop it. But if you're forcing the Grapha pop a Messenger, it's not something else. So
Yeah, there were agents and Karakuri and MKG too, but they were farther down in the top 8.
yeah, and those are kind of you have Exceed options decks as opposed to Chaos Dragons, where you have your two tour guys, and then I guess you can make rank sixes, you can make Bouncer, but you're forcing two light pulsars that way, and that's just not that good. I guess you have Lila, but level limit, the Lila level limit dumb stuff or whatever.
Oh yeah, because you can't turn it to defense.
Yeah. And then the 3D fissures in the side obviously makes sense for the amount of Dark Wolves. Dark Wolves did win, I believe, the last event that they did for September 12th, so it does make sense to see 3 Imps, 3 D-Fissure in there.
Mega hate.
Yeah, mega hate. Because this deck, it does struggle, because if you look at just what happens when you get deck dev'd,
there goes the whole thing.
There goes legitimately the whole thing. So nothing really you could do about it. So we just wanted to briefly touch on the first place list. I'm gonna let you talk about the Dino Rabbit list here because of the interest you got to play it, and then the interesting 2 of Mechanical Chasers, the Card Car, the Tour Bus.
Yeah, there's been plenty of theorio about machine rabbit decks in this format, just because it is decent advantage. Mechanical Chaser is just the biggest machine vanilla we have available, and it's only run at 2 because you really you're not running any other machines to try to get to a Gigant, unlike your dinosaurs where you can run 3 Saber, 3 Guaiba, and you can potentially normal summon bricks to eventually get to your good monsters. The Mechanical Chasers, you're just running 2 for that 1 interaction, and if you happen to dead draw 1, you just cut your losses at that point, and you have an 1850 beater.
Or you Tour Bus it back.
The Tour Bus is kind of an interesting tech. It's not, from what I've seen, played a whole lot in these decks in this format.
It's good against Inzectors. Put back Hornet.
Yeah, but it just hasn't popped up very much, so it's cool to see. The one Gigant target you have in the deck is Card Car.
And Cycle Reader.
Yeah, but that's not main deck.
This card
But
slaps.
yeah, you can side deck Cycle Reader, and I don't think they side decked any of the other really spicy machines. No, they didn't. It was just Cycle Reader for the side deck options.
Yeah, there's no Core Destroyer.
Yeah, no Core Destroyer, no Duradark, which I
Swift
think is
Scarecrow.
Also, yeah, or that. Yeah. So there's a few potential spicy side deck interactions you could have depending on what you're tailoring the deck to. But Machine Rabbit's just a fun concept. I'm glad to see it did well.
Swift Scarecrow is really good against Heretics. I'll talk about the Hero Beat list. So this is Drain Hero. I did get to play this. It is a lot of fun. It is fairly consistent. You'll notice the very, very, very small monster count, especially with Honest. Normally you can get the monster count up to 11-ish. There is no additional Gemini with Evocator, Chevalier,
Or
or
Endymion.
a Crusader of Endymion. Yeah, so there's none of that. So there's no fourth target. Obviously, Crusader being an honestable light, and then Chevalier allowing you to make Nova Master, which you notice is not in the extra deck because there is no Super Poly in the side deck. It is worth noting that Super Poly, this is probably the best format other than maybe March 12 for Super Poly in the sideboard because of the prevalence of Zen mains and this deck's inability to deal with it super well. Obviously, you have cards like Skill Drain and then Deep Prison if they choose to attack it, but being able to, because Zen mains is fire, being able to turn it, one of your guys and their Zen mains into a Nova Master is obviously very good. Deep Prisons over Mirror Forces, interesting choice. I assume that is due to the prevalence of Dark World. I have played this format where I did not have either Bottomless or Deep Prison in my trap lineup. I had Mirror Forces and I think Fiendish Chains, and I struggled mightily with the matchup. It is very difficult, so having both of them alleviate some issues you may have with that matchup. You're going to see triple imps and a lot of stuff just because that deck is
Dark World.
It's just very good.
Yep, it's in the first place list.
So it makes a lot of sense to see that. The extra deck is fairly standard. You can Ab Zero into Ab Zero, and then you have obviously double Snowman. I don't know if there's any other rank 4 that I would want to consider if I wanted to cut one of these, other than maybe Utopia Ray.
Oh gosh, yeah.
But that's about it.
You have Excalibur and Blade Armor though, so you probably don't need to be a Ray.
So that makes sense. Obviously, Pearl with your skill drain makes a lot of sense. It's the biggest guy, so having big guys in skill drain is always a good combo unless you're playing against Dark World. It is the Drain variant. If you're not playing Drain, typically these would be Snowman Eaters or a third Thunder King. Thunder King actually having its searching ability shut off really helps you activate Rotas, E-Calls, and Dualities. So that's all I have really to say about the list. I do want to touch on the Psychic list, and I'll just open the Karakuri list because we'll talk about that as well. So do you want to take this one, my guy?
I'm so happy to see Psychics continue to do well. It's a deck that I love, but I always do trash with. So seeing other people do well with it is wonderful to me. You'll notice that this is not like the historic Billy Break list.
Jeff Jones, yeah, the Jeff Jones.
Oh, is it Jeff Jones?
Yes, the Jeff Jones Grand Soil list. So, in my opinion, this is the way to play Psychics with trap cards.
With back row, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like the deck plays so much better with trap cards.
I do think cutting Grand Soil is correct. I just don't think the deck is quick enough to facilitate seeing Grand Soil early. Like, you can't see it sooner than mid-game, or it's just going to be dead on you. And you can't really afford that. So I like the direction this deck is going. I also do like the stun variant. I am surprised to see no single Psychic Overload and still the inclusion of one Miracle Synchro Fusion. I'd be curious to know if they resolve that.
I feel like Miracle does make sense in the trap because, again, like you said, you can just set it.
Yeah.
When we were talking about it
you can just watch that Miracle Synchro Fusion if you're running a bunch of other back row, and if they heavy or MST it. Then...
I just don't like playing the bad cards. I guess Android isn't bad, right. But like these cards are just like not very good. In my opinion, it's just how I feel about them. Like, I know I guess Life Transfer being generic kind of helps, but Nightmare is not. But you do need to play a 6 just because, I mean, 3 and 3 and 4 and 2, and especially Esper Girl, you just see it all the time. So,
yeah, I'm curious what the matchup spread is like with this deck in this format. Like, I wonder if it has any particular strengths or if it's just decent. I feel like it's a good mid-range deck.
Yeah. That's kind of like how I view this. Is the deck I view as like Zombies and Tengu, where you replace Book of Life with Teleport.
Okay.
And Goblin Zombie with Witch, which I think are like, it's like Witch. Obviously, I don't want to say it's strictly better. Obviously, Teleport is strictly better than Book of Life, even though Book of Life has that DD Crow. So. But this is from your deck or hand. You don't have to have setup. You can just play it. Both decks can conveniently take advantage of Trag relatively well with like hand size and stuff. No giant rats, but we do see the Grand Mole, which is kind of cool.
Best card.
Again, I have a feeling that Grand Mole is the deal with Zen mains because we no longer have Brionic.
That would make sense.
And this deck just doesn't seem to like it, which makes sense with the Cyber Dragons and the Chimera Tech.
You are right, though. I'm surprised to not see a giant rat or two.
I guess when you're
Doesn't
not
seem to have
playing,
suffered for it though.
yeah, monster heavy. And again, this is a card that Jeff didn't play. Jeff didn't even bother to play a Hush Psychic Cleric. A lot of people say it's strictly worse than Witch. It has different utilities, but I wouldn't say it's like, again, strictly worse. But I also like the one creature swap, even though the double jumper, because you don't always have the ability to use jumper optimally, and your opponent is a little bit easier to gearbait you with jumper and things like that, and you can't warning creature swap. So this here, Indikid, has been on Retroport multiple times. I'm sure of that, just because good player. This is Machine Gun Kelly, aka Machina Girgia Karakuri. Jarrell did play this at a YCS and made top 8, I believe. With at least he made top 32 at minimum with a list similar to this. Card Car is seeing more and more and more play in older format decks, especially decks that don't have a ton of normal summons. Like, I wouldn't be shocked to see Heroes start playing Card Car, because you have Gaia and you have It's an Earth, and you can just miracle it away or whatever afterwards. But this deck, when you do have your normal summons, you're able to just pitch it for Fortress when you have other things you want to do. I guess same thing with your Karakuri tuners. If you draw it, they're Fortress food. Only one gear frame, because we can have Gigant. And my favorite part of the deck, the absolute Giga Chad play of running Blood Mephist.
Yeah, Blood Mephist. I saw that.
Yeah, the absolute straight Giga Chad Blood Mephist prize card. You will see Giant Hand played in a lot of hat decks, but Blood Mephist, very rare. I will say it was played in Parker Robinson's Heretic list from this format. He actually took it to an event IRL and played it and made it multiple times. Whenever you're short on game in an OTK deck, it makes sense. If there are multiple 7,700 combos in a deck, Mephist just makes sense. It's just
Oh wow, I didn't even think about. I was trying to figure out what its utility was. It's just a closer.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's its ability. It's a closer. It ends games when you don't have game. When you don't have game, you actually do have game.
It's Cowboy before Cowboy.
Yeah, it's Cowboy before Cowboy, because Cowboy is actually not in the format. Which is another reason that we're not seeing Cabazals, because we don't have Dweller in a KP22. Because Cabazals is water. All right, anything else you want to take a look at? The only one thing I wanted to point out, there was Agents topped. That's all that matters. Trooper Agents topped.
Too strong.
Best deck. Absolute best deck. I'm pretty sure this is mega close to my list. I can't remember if I do play Deep Prisons. I don't think I play one duality, though. But Thunder Kings. Triple Thunder King. Triple Herald. All good stuff.
The deck can just sack you.
Yeah. So we're going to move on to Hat. Obviously, we'll start with Nickadudo. I'm going to say it that way because that's fun. And first place with Water, a.k.a. best deck. A trend we're seeing in Hat, at least, or in 2014 Water decks, is the return of Undyne in the exact ratio of 2-2 or 3-3, and not the other way around. Some of the lists that play Diva will play the Herald of Pure Light that lets you put the controller back. Yeah. And then another thing that we're seeing more, Moulin Glacier coming back like it did in the Pure builds in 2012. And Soul Charge is only being run at 2 instead of 3 because you can only resolve 1. It is a blowout. It's the best card in the deck, but I kind of understand not wanting to play 3 because it can clog your hand and you can't get there, especially in a deck with not going with the Upstart theory. Playing 40 cards, but all 40 real cards. There's no upstarts or anything like that. Allure, obviously, because you still have the controllers. They're searchable. They're worthless in your hand. Outside of Leo and Black Rose. No Gungnir. No Fishborg Archer, which is a card I love.
Yeah, you like that card.
I think that card's awesome. It's better in Firewater when you have 3 gunned, but this list isn't also on Salvage. There are lists that are playing 44, 45 cards, things like that would play Salvage and just more cards in general, but this is not one of them. Triple Max C. Mariners have kind of stopped playing hand traps for a while in the main board and just kind of given up on it. and just like not worried about turn 1 because you just blow their whole board up. If you're going second,
I can see that.
That's kind of the ideology. Breakthrough skills are like almost absolutely necessary. As a trap in this, you need to turn off Dweller and other cards that prevent you from playing the game. So breakthrough is very necessary. Interesting to see Iron Wall. I like that card. I like that card in a lot of formats. Dark Hole in the side deck is also interesting. And no OSHA. I don't think the OSHA combo is any good anyways. And I see a lot of more people playing Ingnir over Zen Mains. And I kind of like Zen Mains, but maybe that's just because I don't know how to use this card properly because I'm a bad player.
Facts.
The absolute facts. Are there any other decks besides this one?
I was gonna say, obviously your gadget deck is really neat. The Karakuri Girya deck doing well is great. That has not happened in this format for this tournament series for a while.
Okay, so I'm gonna point out one thing with these two decks that, and even down here or whatever, seeing Wiretap in the main board is becoming more and more common over MST. We're not seeing a lot of no trap decks at all, or like low trap decks where like MST is just better because you can hit an emptiness if you draw it later or whatever, or like there's a continued like a skill drain. Like if you're like Mythic Rulers, which also are kind of falling out of popularity, Mythic Rulers and Sylvans, we're not seeing as much of. We're seeing more of like a cat is
a lot of cat.
Cat is the variant for me. I think this is the best artifact Trap Tricks build. Although you will see Molson playing.
Yeah, that card.
This card is just absolute Chad strats. Unbelievable. All right, so I'll let you kind of go over this really quickly if you would like to take a look at the Girgia
I can go real quick
Karakuri
into it.
list.
The spicy things about this to me are the main decked triple rivalry, and the fact that they only played the 3 Karakuri synchros and not any other utility ones like either Stardust or Crimson Blader or something like that. And I mean, they still opt to include the Felgrand in there for you to end on if you can't OTK. But oh god, the main deck Soul Drain too.
Yeah, main deck Soul Drain. There is one thing that I would like to point out. There are 2 spells in this main deck, and neither of them are Soul Charge.
Yeah, they just opted against it. No Call of the Haunteds either.
Yeah, I mean, this is go, win the game kind of thing. 3 traps done.
Yeah, 3 traps done
3
and
wiretap.
Business was meant to be made.
I do appreciate the meme of having traps done to turn off your own rivalry. So you can like do a whole bunch of stuff, maybe end on double Bure, and if you don't OTK, you can just make the Felgrand, and then your rivalry's back on.
Yeah, this was definitely a like calculated take into the format, thinking that rivalry would be really good, and also that there would be enough trap decks for 6 negates to do really well against it.
Yeah,
I'm all for it.
So no Stardust, no Scrap Dragon, no Crimson Blader, no problem. Although we do see the obviously the rank 3 package, and then this is just super slimmed down, and it's just no hand traps because we play 21 trap cards in the main deck.
There's no fat on this deck. It knows what it wants to do.
Either stall with jank until you can flip gear and then win the game. And no upstarts, no nothing because we're trying to OTK. We're not trying to grind. We're trying to just no grinding gears. We're exploding gears.
And I don't think you pointed it out, but Wiretap is definitely a response to all the artifact decks.
Yeah, I can completely understand that for sure. I want to click on Ultra Print's list for 1 second because I want to know what on earth this is.
Oh, what the card next to?
Yeah, I gotta know.
Oh, isn't that the one that
Chain
returns
Whirlwind
everything to hand? Or what does that one do?
I think only the card on the field is destroyed by a card effect. That's
so like after you moral talk something, just
or after you the other card. This guy,
or
double
Ignition
Cyclone.
or Double Cyclone.
Or Murmello special summoned off call.
Yeah, or Soul Charge.
Yeah, the amount of synergy.
Or if they hit Bottomless or Trap Tricks, Trap Hole. Yeah, it's interesting for sure.
I really think that, I mean, you could change it to freaking Beagle Talk. This is An interesting card, and I really like Ultra Plant's take on this format. He's done a really good job with stun decks in the past. So, all right, we'll get into the absolute. I'll go back to the best deck. Oh yeah, thank you, Poison. Thank you,
And hopefully
Poison.
this is like a rundown of 3 different formats for everybody. So hopefully there's a bit of something for everybody in here. Poison is the guy.
Yeah, so the Chaos guy summoning all of the Chaos exceeds, again, the Giga Chad strat of the one cycle reader, which is
And
searchable.
Skullmeister.
Yeah, Skullmeister's sick. We're searchable off the one Gigant. Masquerade Sing Play. This card is super weird. I own it. I have summoned it one time, I think, ever.
You use it
like
for the Chaos form.
Yeah, it's the Shockmaster replacement. Kind because it's the 3. Because you can do 3 level 4 easy with Kage and Tin. It's just the deck is it does what it does. It makes rank 4s and it tries to out advantage you.
The Chaos form for Masquerade is kind of nutty.
I
go Neutron Force.
Which one is it of these?
It is the one you just had your mouse on, the middle one.
The middle one?
Yeah.
All right, I'll check this
Your
card.
opponent activates a monster effect, they just like die.
If this card has number 104 Masquerade as a mirror, it gains this effect. Once per turn during either player's turn, when a monster effect is activated on your opponent's side of the field, detach 1, and there's usually there's going to be 4 guys
There's
on
4.
it.
Yeah.
There's 4 guys. Attach 1 material, negate the activation. Send 1 random card from your opponent's hand to the graveyard.
Have your opponent's life.
And it's a 3K beater. All right, I get it. I honestly, what we just did to understand this deck is what a lot of people are going to attempt to understand, which is they don't know it's coming. They don't know that this card exists because I didn't know this card existed. I know there's like the Utopia Ray Victory guy. Is that this one? No, that's Requiem. Okay. Man, there's just so many dumb chaos.
The Honor Arc ones.
Yeah. And Honor Arc, you're obviously always going to play anyways. So I'll let you guys, if you want to pause and read. But there's just so many dumb things. I mean, Soul Charge, and you just Wing Blast away your dead gadgets because who cares? There's just so much stupid stuff going on. And obviously, I'm kind of happy about it, that this did well. Mermails did well too, and Emptiness is making a comeback. And this is the salvage stuff that I was talking about earlier. That you can kind of understand 3 and 3. Swagger's another one of those players who plays this deck fairly religiously. Whenever you see their name pop up, it's typically tied to this deck. So let's move on to Tengu Tussle number 1. 24 players. We will briefly talk about Himda's list from the Tengu Takeover. A Tengu Plant Takeover from the Tengu Discord. This was run through Formula or for Format Library, but both of them are back on Toronto, so it's the same format. I don't know if Format Library allows the promos or not, like Tengu Plant does. So you can play
like Gallus and
you
things.
can play Gallus. The Gallus it's Gallus that's the main one. So if you could play the Gallus Goofy Machine deck, dude, Cyber Valley stack Eltanin. Real Gallus for game.
Monster Mash is eternal.
And then, again, we see Hero Beat in first place. I have been saying this for a long time. Hero Beat is good in this format. It's good. It's good. I think the deck is good. I like it. I think it's fun. The deck is super straightforward. I think we have close to the same monster lineup. There are some builds that are on Valor instead of Skill Drain in the main deck, because it's an additional light for Shining. I've been wanting to give that a go as well. But this is the list that's also playing Skill Drain in the main. I presume this is a response to there being no Darkholds in the format, so it makes sense. So Skill Drain has one less matchup that it sucks in.
Curious to see no Barbaros.
Yeah, that's the thing I was going to point out, but no Barbaros.
Also, Future Fusion. I know some lists are iffy on whether they include that or not. I'm glad to see it. I think it's a good card.
I think it makes sense to set up Miracle, especially when you're on 3 Pot of Duality and Rhoda and E-Calls and stuff. And it's just another fusion spell. There is a an argument for triple Hero Blast when you do something like that, but for me, it kind of
Yeah.
it breaks the deck a little bit. But you just need to be able to like recur your monsters. It's cool to see Soul Taker in the side because again, if agents get big, Soul Taker is a big way that they recur those banished monsters off Miracle with Shining. So making that mistiming is like a huge thing and like really cripples the deck. So this card is really good in the mirror. I think Leeching's pretty good in this matchup just to, deal with Shining. Just making it depends on the deck you're playing. For me, Leeching is less impactful in decks that put out less monsters. Like if I can just summon a Venus, fart out 3 Shine Balls, and then activate Leeching, like that's best case scenario. Double Starlight in the main deck is kind of interesting, but there are a lot of decks that are playing. Obviously, like Black Rose and Heavy. Black Rose is super prevalent this format, and not having as many ways, not having Valor to like turn that off as opposed to like Skill Drain. I don't know. It makes sense when you have a continuous trap that's always going to be up. So Starlight is typically going to have a companion to be live against cards that blow up 2 or more cards. So
I see that.
that and we've seen MST being moved to the sideboard and a lot of stuff. Not seeing Heavy Storm in the main board is super interesting, but like Gemspark is kind of taken MST's place in those lists. But I do prefer Heavy in the main board, but player preference. So
Yeah, this deck probably needs the MSTs in the side for like Gravekeeper.
yeah, I mean we'll get there. Obviously, 10-foot Dick had to show up. I like his agent list. It's super different. There's one thing that is super weird, and I want to know if you can point it out to me. What is odd about this agent list?
In the main board?
In the main board, yeah. You see it?
See, 2 Heralds not that weird. Reaper's not that weird. 2 Venus?
Yeah. Only 2 Venus.
No I mean, still same amount of Shine Balls too. That's interesting.
Yeah, so only 2 copies of Venus, but 3 Earth, as opposed to the other way around, which is super interesting because you don't want to. You can start with Earth, obviously. It's really good with Trag, but starting with Venus is typically what you want to do. I know that Earth is the one that's searchable off Sangan and the Torghast engine or whatever, but still, that's kind of odd in my opinion. It's super weird to see. I actually do understand only 1 warning, no judgment, just because Venus costs you a lot of
Life points. Yeah.
Seeing a card like Econ, I like Book over Econ because I like to be able to put down Thunder King so I can like do stuff. So I can like summon Earth and get searches, or summon Venus and make Shine Balls, and then you can even use a Shine Ball to run over. Or no, I guess you can't do that with Thunder King. It's 800, but you know what I mean. You
I would
can
understand.
do damage.
I feel like Econ is more justified in builds with like Birdman, because like if you could just like Shine Ball, Econ, like Birdman, a whole bunch of things you can combo. Like if you have Venus, Econ, and Birdman, you can do a whole bunch of stuff with your opponent's board. But like,
yeah, we're seeing Birdman significantly less because people are realizing that it's super contingent on other cards, and that just doesn't work now.
yeah,
And then we're not seeing as many 1 Christia lists, which I think is good because this card is busted.
always has been, always will be.
Super busted. And then Decrees in the main. My trap lineup is actually the same minus the Decrees, and I play TT. So I like Mirror Force. People are like, I don't really care for Mirror Force in the main deck. I think it's good. I really do. The Decree theory is actually really cool. 1 MST is obviously important to have that like access to being able to destroy something. But for me, the Decree theory is really cool because if your opponent is on a trap deck, they're using their MSTs on your Decree, which lets your traps be better. So that's something that I've thought about, and it's cool to see that in action. Because if you're flipping Decree, it's clearly super impactful, and you're like winning the game with like a Christia or something, and you're gonna kind of like power through. So this is a theory that I am going to try as well. Also, I always point this out. I try to at least. You play Librarian if you don't side Gozen Match, and if you do side Gozen Match, you play Android, which is something I forgot to do at our last tournament. I was like, oh, I have the Librarian, and I'm siding Gozen Match. That's my bad. Also, DD Warrior Lady is a sick card.
I was gonna say, I bet that's almost like an Edison-inspired like sideboard card for heroes.
Good Good card against heroes. Good card's for heroes because it's searchable off your Rhoda.
Yeah.
So another good card for the mirror match, and it's a good to have extra monsters in that deck because they just kind of like struggle.
We gotta at least mouse over the let's see, the Psychic Zombie list is sick. The Piper Chaos list is sick.
It's not Piper. There's no Piper in it. It's not Piper Chaos. It's plants, but with Cyber Valley and Battle Fader.
Where? Huh?
It's just mislabeled.
Okay, hold on. On my screen, my list actually shows Piper. What? Crazy.
Does it actually?
Yeah.
Oh, what the heck? On my screen, it was not showing Piper at all. All right, well, we're going over it then. I guess it was just a list of or mistake with the list. Cool. I'm glad you said something. All right, I'll let you take it because you're the Piper guy.
This is super sick. I'm really glad to see it do well. I wouldn't say there's anything too crazy different or controversial about this list. This list does play trap. Well, 3 Sork is fine. 3 Sork with 2 Caius is interesting. I know in my personal experience, I've tended to I've run like 2 Sork and 1 Caius just for fear of bricking, but maybe with, triple Fader.
I would say you're not on 3 Fader, are you?
I don't think I am. I think I'm on 2. But I mean, you're just maximizing your strengths at that point, I think, with 3 and 2. So I see it. And double Cyber Dragon to help with tributes and put another light in there. So sure, I understand the Therio. I'm a big fan. Kings. I'm okay with that, frankly. I think you're substituting the strength of Thunder King with Caius in this build, and you're reserving your normal summons for your advantage cards.
They're on the sideboard. We're out here.
Yeah, they're out there for stun. I like the inclusion of trap cards in the main. I haven't. I've been all Pringles and green cards, but honestly, putting a few in there seems reasonable.
No MSTs.
It seems to be more common. A lot of decks in this format even are starting to relegate it entirely to the side.
Now, is that because if you're so for me that makes sense because if your opponent uses something like a warning or a torrential, you always have a follow-up. It just feels like
this main board might be geared more to play against like low trap count decks like agents and maybe even like typical break plants.
Okay.
Is from what it looks like to me, you banish their value cards, and you don't have dead cards for cards they don't run.
That and the ability for Cyber Dragon to munch up all those T-Kings to free up your boss monsters.
Yeah.
And not eat your normal summon to get to your Piper.
Certified biggest fan.
I like it.
I love it.
I absolutely respect it, and I'm glad you said something because looking at my screen, it's literally just a plant list with Battle Fader and Cyber Valley. Don't get me wrong, Cyber Valley, sick card.
I feel like this Psychic Zombie list is Jaina directly taking inspiration from Edison, from how much attention the telekinetic Power Well got from that format. But honestly, the concept is pretty sick. I mean, bringing back Esper Girl with Well is kind of sick.
I can see that.
So the whole concept of this seems like this deck could go really hard. And hey, look, they have 2 of the clerics in there.
Yeah, and you get to play this card.
Decisive Arbor.
This card is an absolute freaking blowout against agents.
I am surprised to see no Tragodia. Because I feel like both with Psychics and Zombies, Tragodia is a great card.
Tragodia is a great card.
Both of those archetypes tend to accrue advantage, and don't mind crashing weenies. But I don't know. I just love the concept of the deck.
I was reading the Discord, and I believe she said her biggest mistake was not playing Zombie Master, and
oh yeah, I can see that,
and not playing a second generic level 6. They're only being Brio, so not having a card like Orient or Gaia Knight.
I can see that too.
Which I heavily because the deck makes 6s. It's got level 2 tuners and level 4 monsters. The deck makes 6s. Which makes a lot of sense. If I were to play this deck, I would put in a Zombie Master, and I would also go 3-1 because I don't like this card at 2. I understand the ass factor of walling Thunder King. I mean, what is it, 21?
It's 21.
Yeah, it's got a huge butt, but it has a discard, and I don't like having to discard if I have to. Yeah, send one card from your hand to the graveyard, psychic monster, move from play, and it's the same thing as wizard, but it's a
I wonder if it's
discard.
just to capitalize off of like you don't mind sending some of your zombies.
I guess that makes sense. Unfortunately, you can summon this off of Witch, I believe. I know that there's one that where because it's the butt makes it.
Yeah, which is 2,000 or less attack.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can.
Yeah. Because I know there's some stipulations where you can't really do certain things with this card, but you can do it. Like I know it's summonable off like there's a giant rat, but obviously that's not like a play or anything like that. It's the fact that you can do stuff when it's special summon, like it's a once per turn. And not. Oh no, it's one. All right, once per turn. Yeah, it's not a normal summon. So, but you don't want to tie too many monster to it because it's only select one, unless you're like doing Levier plays, which, yeah, it's kind of narrow, but it makes sense. Again, I also like Trag, and I wish we had more of this card in this format because we need more teleports.
The deck would be a real contender.
Way more teleports. All right, let's keep rolling. I will talk about the Fusion Gate hero because it's not playing the Amazoness card.
It's not the cancerous one, yeah.
I mean, this deck is still like kind of nutty, just because its ability to just put out multiple monsters super easily, just to put out this unbeatable board. So I was talking to a friend. I was talking to Aaron. What up, Aaron? Probably in the comments. About how the deck kind of works. So essentially, chain material, the monster only leaves the field at the end phase if it was summoned off of chain material and not if chain material was used this turn. So if you chain material for like the Electrum and a fusion and then use those two with Fusion Gate to make a third fusion. So like if you use Electrum and Ab-Zero to make a Shining, the Shining would stay if they're both on the field. So you can just put out multiple Shinings, Ab-Zeros, just put stuff on the board. The fact that it gets to unironically play Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, though, is so funny. Like, I found one of these in my stuff. I was like, I just want to be able to, like, summon it. But I don't own, like, any of the vanillas. I don't own Voltix, Fusion Gates, Chain Materials. I know we got these for you.
I was going to say, I do have Fusion Gates, Chain Materials, and the vanillas.
And the Electrums.
Yeah, and the Electrum. So
all right, I got a Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon you can borrow.
This is, yeah, I would much rather play this than the version with Amazoness Archer that focuses on OTKing. Or, yeah, you can't FTK with that deck, but OTK.
No, yeah, because you have to set. The only other minor thing I wanted to point out was there was a Curry list that played 2 Kuik, which I think is correct.
Not 3.
Yeah, but I also like 2 Nisamu, 2 Gen X guy. And I'm not an instant fusion guy because finding room for Cybersaurus kind of sucks. Oh, and this agent list is almost the list that I play. But if you take out 1 MST and the 2 upstarts for Sork, Jupiter, and Mirror Force, you get there. Although I think Jupiter's really good, and I'd like to see more lists play it. I don't know. I think that card's cool.
A lot of diversity in this top. I like it.
And then the last list that
from the fourth event, the second Tengu event.
Yeah, so there was a second. This is one by Hymna. He wins all of them. So there's a little bit of discourse that goes around this deck, which is the Discord decided to switch from Columbus to Toronto, eliminating Dark Worlds. And someone did the math where if you play triple Upstart and triple Duality and then the True World Tributes, you will open it 25% of the time, I think was the math. I didn't do it. Don't be mad if it's wrong. But when you add triple Wonder Wand into the equation, you're just going to Royal Tribute people. It's a Royal Tribute deck. That's kind of essentially what it is. I don't know what to tell you, man. It's Royal Tribute Turbo right. Because you don't have to fear Dark Worlds.
Yeah, we can play Toronto, but you're gonna get tributed.
Yeah, so you open the ability to activate Royal Tribute 25% of the time. Is what someone said, because again you have like 3 commandants and 3 upstarts and 3 Wonder Wands, and the Rite of Spirit's kind of cool.
Rite of Spirit's kind of cool. Honestly, I think Wonder Wand's kind of cool.
Wonder Wand is a cool card. It's a Gen Force, isn't it too?
I think so. Like Spy Summon Recruiter Wonder Wand. Like
Advantage
nuts.
Engine Engage. Also, only one Descendant. Normally you see more, at least two. But when you have three of this card and then Steel, you're kind of okay. And then the one of Blackwing forces you to play like a bunch of synchros, so you can't just like max out on like three Utopia, three Roach.
Unironically, Zen Meister is pretty sick in this deck if you let like set it
Zenmeister
up
is
with the
sick because
spy.
of the spy. Yeah, the spy play. Like if you can like resolve that, it is pretty goofy. But that's gonna do it for this edition of Retro Report. No jank corner because we're at the 40-minute mark. But I will say briefly that two players at this particular event played Jurax. So take that. There's your jank corner. There were two Jurac lists in this tournament, and that's all that matters to me because that was the first deck I ever built in the format before this one.
Who needs nostalgia?
Who needs nostalgia? This guy. If I, oh, the freaking battle pack Guibas. Why? Why did I get them for like $5? Oh, somebody messed up. Awesome. All right. Well, if that's our closing thoughts, and thanks for watching, guys.